pass these around.
Craig, do you want any water? I'm good. Thanks.
Craig, is the recorder back here?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Might as well. Thank you, sir.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Hey, Richard, how are you? Good to see you. Good seeing you. Don't get up, please.
How you doing today?
Thank you.
Hey, Richard,
How are you today?
I'm doing good. You
Good
doing fine?
to see you. Thank you. How are you, Charles?
And yourself? That's good.
I'm glad I think that was the last on this agenda. Go to the next one. For your
That one?
opinions, yeah. Didn't have a date, but that's last one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
That's to start your priorities.
There.
All right, we will now begin our meeting for today, meeting session. And we're going to begin by having everyone introduced on the Board of Elections. And we'll start with Mr. Richard Ashton, if you'd raise your
I'm
hand.
Richard Ashton.
Okay, Mr. Martin Carpenter,
Right here.
Mr. Craig Kennedy.
Here.
Right. Now we will have our Pledge of Allegiance led by Mr. Craig.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic
for
for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all. Madam Director, is anyone signed up for public comment?
There is none, sir.
If not, then everyone is familiar with the minutes, had opportunity to go over the minutes. Could we have a motion to have the minutes approved?
So moved.
Second. Moved and second. You heard the question, prepared to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. So moved. And now, Madam Director, we move to old business.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. We have continued to work on the continuity plans, and we have some additional attachments which we will get to you to look at. It's a tick and tally sheet to be used at the M100 if you've gone into the emergency bin to keep up with the number of emergency ballots are in there. They've always kept up with them, but they didn't have an official form, so we've given them an official form that they will fill out the time that the tabulator stopped reading, and they'll tick and tally as they put them in. And then if we get the machine back in operations, for our new members, those ballots stay in the emergency bin until the close of the polls. And right before you close the polls, you will read those in. So we always tell a voter when they say, well, how do I know you're going to put my ballot in and count it? We invite them to come back at 7:30 when we're officially through with all the voting of other voters, and they can watch the ballots come out and be put in, and they have to balance. So we have that as a new attachment. Also, I have added a simple step of the procedures, regardless of what type of emergency they might have, as just a quick sheet, reference sheet for them, which I think will be easier. We have met and talked with several alternate contacts. The college called me back, and they offered the new Performing Arts Center, which we years ago voted in the auditorium lobby. And so they have offered that, which was very gracious of them. They tell me it's a lovely place. I've not been able to go out there to see it, but I'm going to. And O'Neill has not, I didn't get to speak to the headmaster, but they were not really welcoming about the possibility of using their facility. But we've got plenty of others there. So we also, Angela and I met with the emergency services director, and sometime next week, they're going to come do a physical inspection of the office, and they will read over our plans. And I was correct, they do have a continuity plan, but theirs has not been updated since 2018. So ours will be right on top, which is great. He was very happy that we were going to those steps. We talked again to the IT director, asking with the cloud, what did he recommend that we have ready if we had to move out of this office? He recommends only taking laptops instead of desktop computers. And so we have discussed all that. And we'll be devising a sheet for what we need extra to set up a precinct, what we need extra to set up the office. And that will be in place and set aside in one of the trucks once they run the route. And so I certainly would love for Reverend McKnight and Marty as new members to maybe be available the day before the primary to go out with the trucks to just see what happens. You don't have to stay on the whole route, but if you go to one or two places, and they'll all be Southern Pines, it won't take that long, but you'll see what we do in getting out the equipment. I know Craig and Richard are familiar with that ordeal. It's quite a, when you're doing the whole county, it is quite a production. But I'm very, very proud of the continuity plan and how it's come along, and the cooperation of each one to help us in making sure that we are making the right decisions. And if y'all have any thoughts as you go through it, just send me an email and we'll discuss it and see if we can't get it incorporated.
We'll appreciate that. Director, I look forward because I want to
Good.
experience the wholeness of
The whole
of
procedure,
everything,
yes.
every step. And it's difficult to know what isn't right if you have not physically observed it, you've not done it, you've not touched and seen. But I appreciate that.
And as I was telling Marty, tonight we're going to administer the oaths to the chief judges and judges that will not have an October primary. And that's at 6:30,
One at 6, one at 7.
one at 6 and one at 7. And then on Thursday night, we will be training. We'll be bringing in the chief judges and judges for the primary and doing their very first basic training. And then we'll get training schedules set up. And we will let y'all know, because I know y'all would like to come in and sit in on some of that. And before you have in your list, a list of the people that have agreed to work. And since we're within 30 days, Mr. Chairman, of this primary, you will be the one that makes this approval of the workers.
Okay, so
And Madam Director, what time is that Thursday night?
Angel, Thursday night
6.
at
6
6.
o'clock, okay. And I wanted to say, I went through the COOP and I like what you've done, very good. I only wondered, you have all the alternate sites. Are they actually gonna have dedicated space election day in case we had to move? I've experienced in the past, people said they'd be available and then something happens like, oh, we didn't really think you were gonna come. We have to move out this room now. So hopefully they have open space. So if an emergency occurs, we have to move, we can move right in.
Yeah.
And what kind of equipment do we have? Are the people working the polls that have to move, are they responsible for moving voting machines and everything, or how do we help them out?
No, we will have property management when it comes. There's a list of things they must take out with them and keep in their possession. But in case of that, there would be a staff member and property management would go and move the heavy stuff. But we're gonna have tables and chairs. We're on standby, so that wouldn't have to have an RV packed up and ready to go.
Okay, good.
So if y'all want to look at that Southern Pines primary, Mr. Kevin O'Day can't work this election, but he will work in November. Bill Layton has a class that night, but he's going to try to get somebody to take his class. He's an instructor at Sandhills. Alyssa Sorensen has just called and said she won't be able to work. Brenda Bowser has a concern about COVID, so she is kind of iffy about whether she'll work or not. And Carla Butler called and said she probably is going to be out of town. But we have enough others, I think, and we'll talk to the chief judges about whether they feel they want other additional people. But this basically is your lineup for the October primary in Southern Pines. And we don't have any problems with having too many people out of precinct, and the political division looks pretty equal. And with the unaffiliated, that gives us some leeway. So I think we feel pretty good about that, Mr. Chair.
okay, so do we need to put this to a vote to accept it?
You're the sole,
So,
you're the sole person to say that you're gonna approve them.
well, I'm approving this.
Okay.
All right, so this.
And I will be bringing this list, or Angela will be bringing this, somebody will be bringing this list back to you probably several times. Because we, as I said, we'll have somebody the night before to drop out. But we'll keep the entire board apprised of what's happening as we go through with the workers.
And now what do we change to next?
We go to new business, and there are no absentees today, Mr. Chair.
No absentees?
No
today?
absentees. We mailed out on Friday, and we emailed on Friday, which was the day dedicated to begin and make sure that ballots were available. And so we took care of that. And we had some issues that Angela figured out and told the state what was going on. If a voter went through the portal last year to get a ballot, you wanna explain?
The UOCAVAs. So that's the military and the overseas citizens. They can use the portal to submit their requests. And if they use the FPCA, it generates their ballot. But it generated one for everybody that had a valid UOCAVA request, but they weren't valid for this primary election. So it showed like we had 300, but you had to change a a thing. So the record's there, but it did not generate them a ballot. It just generated that they were a good Uocala voter, but they're not getting a ballot for October because they're not in the Southern Pines municipality. So, yeah.
And there was a difference in numbers when we ran reports that we were trying to figure out. And it was just a glitch in whether they went through the portal or just used the Uocala as
Yeah, if they use the state form against or
the
compared
state
to
versus the
FPCA.
federal program. And so we worked it out and we figured it out and told the state what was going on. And so we're confident that we didn't miss anybody that was eligible that actually lived in Southern Pines. The system was a little iffy about that procedure, but we got it done. And so, Mr. Chairman, the board should consider going into to closed session to consider personnel matters.
Can I address something old business wise?
So,
At the end of the last meeting, we got a FOIA request from an organization called American Oversight. Have you talked to the county attorney about what your obligations are in terms of responding to that?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what he said.
The American Oversight request
The public request.
for,
There's not been any reply from the state, and I did not send it to Misty until I hear from the state.
we referred it to the state.
okay,
Not to interrupt. We referred it to
And
the
so-
state and they were instructed.
I've not answered anything until, and I've told these people we were waiting on direction from the state. So they know we're not ignoring them, but they know that we've got to hear back from the state.
I was just concerned about how much time your staff would have
Yes,
to
sir.
put into it. And we're in the middle of an election cycle right now.
Right,
And so I didn't know if the county attorney had said you have to do this by such and such a date. And if you're not under any obligation right now, then it's not going to have any impact on the staff during
Right.
the next 2 months. And that's
Right.
what I was concerned about.
I understand that, yes, sir.
I think after we from the state, the direct, that would be referred to. our county.
They can't answer it for us, but they give us direction of
Exactly.
whether, we have to do all that. So I will put in a call because sometimes those tickets don't quite rise as quickly as we would like to see them to the top to get answered.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion before we adjourn for our closed session? All right, did someone make a motion for us to adjourn for this closed session?
I move that we go into closed session, Mr. Chairman.
And we need the statute. Statute has to be read to go into closed session. Does someone have that?
I don't know.
You have it.
I don't have it. And Craig knows more about that. I apologize, Craig, I did not print it out.
But thank you.
And I'm not sure that you, Craig, that you necessarily need to read the statute, but you must tell the reason, and it is to discuss personnel matters. And that's basically reading the statute is to say what you're doing it for.
Yeah, but the
But we'll
statute,
get that statute.
yeah, but the statute says that if we are discussing
You're required to read the statute.
Are you?
Yeah, before you do a
personnel
closed session.
matters, that we have to do that in closed session. I can appreciate that. Sir. Thank you.
The attorney, press 1. Tron Ross, please when I transfer your call.
Are we still on?
You have reached the voicemail of Misty Woodland. Attorney's office. You may dial your party's extension at any time. To speak with Misty Leland or county attorney, press your party's extension at any time. To speak with Misty Leland, Moore County Attorney, press 1. Tron Ross, Associate County Attorney, press 2. Stephen Lappin, Associate County Attorney, press 3. Charlene Anderson, Associate County Attorney, press 4. Cheryl Seelsdorf, Law Office Manager, press 5. Annette McGraw, Paralegal, press 6. Thank you for calling the Moore County Attorney's Office. You may dial your party's extension at any time. To speak with Misty Leland, Moore County Attorney, press 1. Tron Ross, Associate County Attorney, press 2. Stephen Lappin, Associate County Attorney, press 3. Thank you for calling the Moore County Attorney's Office. You may dial your party's extension at any point while I transfer your call. Hi, you have reached Annette McGraw, Parent. Office. You may dial your party's extension. Wait while I transfer your call. Hello, you have reached the office of Tron Ross, Associate County Attorney from the Moore County Attorney's Office. I am unable to take your call.
Hey Mary, it's Glenda. How are you? I'm fine. Is Laura in? May I speak to her? Okay, thank you.
Just have to refer to that statute in that subsection.
Yes. Okay, that's fine. No, I think we're okay. I just had a question, but I think we're okay. Thank you. Okay, bye-bye. No, I'm fine. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Okay, you need to hand that to Craig so he can read it.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll read the statute.
There you go.
And what's the citation, Craig?
So. So I'll make a motion that we enter into closed session pursuant to 143-318.11, Section 6, to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointments, or condition of initial employment of an individual, public officer or employee, or prospective public officer or employee, or to hear or to investigate a complaint, charge, or grievance by or against an individual public officer or employee. General personnel policy issues may not be considered in a closed session. A public body may not consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, appointment, or removal of a member of the public body or another body, and may not consider or fill a vacancy among its own membership except in an open meeting. Final action, making an appointment or discharge or removal by a public body having final authority for the appointment or discharge or removal shall be taken in an open meeting.
Okay,
We've
you're
heard,
no longer live, right?
No, he made the motion,
he
right?
made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that we would now adjourn and go into our closed session. You heard the question, prepared to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. We're in closed session now.